quite honestly, by now, it should be obvious to every American that it's not the Republicans that are a threat to our democracy. It's President Obama, it's President Biden, it's the radical leftists that have served and support them.
Whose fault is this? It's Obama's or Biden, Epstein. Maybe no, I shouldn't have written down Epstein. Great job, Ron Johnson, or Ronson, as I like to call you. In less than 15 seconds, you managed to sneak in gaslighting, deflection, and derealization. And I say derealization because nothing you said has any basis in reality. Like, have you ever met a radical leftist who is a big fan of Barack Obama and Joe Biden? I haven't. There are people who really do like Joe Biden and Barack Obama, but those are typically called liberals. But that doesn't sound as scary as radical leftists with their mohawks and their pierced noses and their punk rock music. I'm starting to think that this administration just chooses words based on what emotion they want to evoke and not on what the actual words mean. So just as a quick refresher, everybody, democracy is when the government is dictated ultimately by the will of the people. So hypothetically, in a democracy, you would want like a Department of Justice to act on behalf of justice and not on behalf of like a particular political party or administration. And action.
It was because she had the audacity to remind Border Patrol Chief Gregory Bovino that he was obligated to follow a court order and the Constitution in California. According to reports, she was fired less than 6 hours after she told Bovino he couldn't arrest people without probable cause. 6 hours. So my first question, Attorney General Bondi, is a simple yes-no question. Do you believe that government officials like Gregory Bovino are obligated to follow applicable court orders, whether they agree with them or not, yes or no?
First, Senator Padilla, you have gone on for over 5 minutes, and I wish that you loved your state of California as much as you hate President Trump. We'd be in really good shape then, because violent crime in California is currently 35% higher than the national average. Property crime in California is 18% higher than the national average. That should be something that we should be talking about and working together on, yet we're not. And no, this is important. You're talking about all of my agencies, and I want to let you know what DEA has been doing, and they are working hand in hand with
I appreciate that.
No, you can't go on for 5 minutes and criticize my agents who are out working without pay right now because you voted to shut down the government. They're out there working without pay.
Mr. Chairman, I asked a simple yes or no question. Attorney General Bondi
DEA, 4,500 kilos of fentanyl and 50 million fentanyl pills off the streets.
Well, under your watch,
FBI, 23,000 violent criminals. U.S. Marshals, 51,000 fugitives.
I'm not getting an answer to my question. I'm trying to move on to the next question or the next topic. Mr. Chairman, order, please. Thank you.
One of my favorite things is when Republicans just throw out numbers. Like they'll just throw out this big number and it's supposed to be like this gotcha, and maybe this is my fault. Maybe I was getting a little ahead of myself in that first section by defining democracy. I think that might be a little advanced for this administration. So let's just go ahead and bring it back to math. Okay, here's how math works. So if I say like, hey, I have 57,000 anything, you might be like, whoa, that's a lot of those anythings. And if it's a bad anything, you might be like, that's too many of those bad anythings. But if I take those 57,000 bad anythings and I put them next to 1,000,000 bad anythings, you'll be like, wow, that's not so many of those bad anythings. It's sort of like how when you put a Pepsi can in a photo to get a kind of what we call a frame of reference, or like you incorporate other variables to have a better understanding of what's actually going on. But hey, listen, all crime is bad. I've said that I've always thought crime is bad. I also think that when you have a massive state with massive wealth inequality and you concentrate the people suffering the most from that wealth inequality into smaller and smaller areas, you're going to have higher rates of crime. So you could probably just shut up, you dumb propaganda. Speaking of dumb, Stephen, are you ready? Okay, you're almost up. Now, don't forget to be as insufferable and as condescending as possible. And action on Stephen Miller.
Is it the case that, as Pritzker frames it, you are profiling brown people, that this immigration crackdown is designed to go after people of color?
It's such a, oh, what a dumb question. The illegal aliens who are here are taking jobs away from blacks. They're taking jobs away from whites. They're taking jobs away from Latinos. They're taking their health benefits away. They're taking their school slots away. And of course, in many cases, they're committing heinous crimes. We cannot have a system of law in this country that privileges illegal aliens over American citizens. And that's what they're doing. You know it, and I know it.
So that's not exactly a no, Stephen.
Yeah, you're just, you're so cool, dude. You are so cool. That was a dumb question. You really called it. You know, the only question I can think of that could possibly be dumber was that time your mom asked your dad if he wanted to have kids. Also, didn't ICE just give like $30 million to Palantir, a technology surveillance company, to develop Immigration OS, which will use artificial intelligence for predictive policing purposes? And artificial intelligence has been shown time and time again to actually amplify the systemic racism that's already plaguing our justice system. So the willful use of artificial intelligence for predictive policing purposes by the government is in fact the targeting of brown people, but I probably wouldn't bring that up either if I was Stephen Miller, who owns between $100,000 and $250,000 in Palantir, which was co-founded by Peter Thiel, who's currently in the process of doing a series of closed-door lectures on the apocalypse and the Antichrist, who he thinks might be Greta Thunberg. We're doing really well, you guys. We're doing really, really great. No notes. We have that guy who is definitely 100% in charge. I'm sure everything is going to be hunky-dory. Here is Jessica Tarlov schooling the kid who got held back year after year because he kept smearing hair gel on his test papers.
The Trump administration is getting pushed back left, right, and center. The American people are saying no to this, and the court system is saying no to this. You have judges who have been appointed by every president from Reagan up until Donald Trump and Joe Biden himself saying you cannot do this.
No, you don't.
Chicago journalists are
suing.
Chicago journalists are suing DHS for having excessive force used against them. And I know you love a good poll. I'm going to lead the A block with it. CBS. Trump is now -10 on immigration. 58% oppose using the National Guard, 70% of independents, 61% oppose using active duty military in our American cities. They are trying to militarize the country. And he says, and Caroline Levitt echoed it today in the press briefing, well, he just wants to work together. He's not picking up the phone and calling J.B. Pritzker. He's saying, I'm coming to take your cities. And that's what he told all of the generals last week when he had them assembled.
Whoa. Easy. Hang on. All right. So you said a majority of people don't want the National Guard used to police American cities, and yet the government is doing it anyway? Now, hang on. What is that called? What is that called when a majority of people want a particular course of action, but the administration chooses not to do it? Would that be, what was it? Was it like, it's like democratic, maybe pro-authority Epstein? Was it Epstein? I think. But look, hey, I'm probably just, again, suffering from Trump derangement syndrome. What could really be anti-democratic about completely ignoring the will of the people in an effort to consolidate power for yourself? Name one thing, J.B. Pritzker.
Well, the broader goal, I believe, is the militarization of major American cities before the 2026 elections. Let me be clear about what's going on the streets of Chicago. They have dressed ICE and CBP in fatigues, put them in military gear, including with automatic weapons, and had them marching up and down major streets in downtown Chicago. It's a signal that they're trying to send that it's okay to have troops on your street, that this would be a welcome thing for people who live in Chicago. Nobody here welcomes it, by the way. I mean, literally, as they're walking down the street, people are yelling at them. But they think they can get people used to the idea. And next year, I fear that what they're going to do is deploy these folks eventually to polling places and say they're protecting the vote. Donald Trump knows that without shenanigans and without these breaches of the Constitution, that he's going to lose the Congress. And if he loses, he's going to immediately, in the aftermath of the election, do what he said he might do in 2020, which is use the military to confiscate the ballot boxes.
Okay. Yeah. No, that does sound a little anti-democratic, I guess, if you think about it. You know what came to mind just now is Naomi Klein's book, The Shock Doctrine, which basically argues that neoliberal governments will often use disasters as an excuse to further consolidate power and deregulate the market, make basically life a lot worse. It's sort of like old-timey electroshock therapy that the CIA used in the 1950s, where they would just shock the crap out of people and get them to do what they want. If you shock a populace over and over and over again, it makes them a lot more compliant eventually. She calls it disaster capitalism because it's quite literally capitalizing on disasters. I don't know why I thought about it. It's almost like if you cause multiple disasters at the same time, you just shock, then eventually you can take authoritarian control. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up because as we can remember, okay, all of this is ultimately Obama and Biden's fault, y'all. Okay, it's Obama's fault, first and foremost, and then Biden, and then all of their radical left fans. You remember all of those radical leftists who love Barack Obama and Joe Biden? Yeah, it's those guys with their rap music and their pronouns and their desire for people to have access to healthcare and basic needs and maybe even education and I don't know, like a functioning democracy. So it's just we're in a good place, it's a really good place. I do recommend Naomi Klein in every possible way. And also, in case you guys are wondering, this is what it feels like to actually be in the toilet while it's flushing. See you next week.